So it's great to see everybody, to be able to say hola, to say hello. I look forward to on break catching up with you. As I come up here, I'm just letting this scroll for a second. These are some of the wonderful partners that have supported the work of the foundation, and by no means a complete list. These are a lot of people who have supplied equipment, but we also have had a lot of donors. So thank you to everyone who's helped make this foundation the success it has been and what we think it can be in the future. And by the way, maybe spoiler alert, I think we're just scratching the surface. And it's interesting when you have both Gonzalo talking and Emily about how much of the focus becomes on the power of nutrition and delivering that to people in many cases who don't have access to it. And so our opportunity to feed a hungry world is huge, and the foundation, your foundation, plays an important role in helping that going forward. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a status update on some of our projects and initiatives and some of the things that we have in the pipeline going forward. So, many of you know this, but at every IEC conference there's new people. The IEF was founded by the International Egg Commission way back in 2014. So here we are celebrating 9 years of work in the developing world, bringing the power of the nutrition of eggs. In fact, we had a really good meeting yesterday, with the office holders of the IEC and the trustees of the International Egg Foundation to talk about working together in collaboration as we go forward, because IEF cannot be successful without the tremendous support of the IEC, and in fact, literally, the foundation was created by the IEC. So working from the ground up, there's our vision statement to contribute to sustainable food supplies by developing local knowledge, expertise, and entrepreneurship. Let's face it, we're not going to go into countries in the developing parts of the world and give them solutions. They have to develop their own solutions. But what we have in this room right here is a wealth of people with expertise, with equipment, with knowledge, quite frankly, with financial resources, all the tools to help your product make a difference in the world. And so it's about helping empower local people to build success. And I've got a really cute little story that I think will touch a lot of people in a minute. So who are we? So here's our board of trustees. Steve Manton has served for 9 years. Carlos Saviani with DSM. Bruce Doyema with Centerfresh. Pierre-Marie Bourne, who's with SIVA. And I'd like to welcome, one of our previous trustees was Julian Madeley, and Julian's now come off the board of trustees, and Julian has been absolutely instrumental in the formation of the foundation and helping us get to where we've gotten to so far. I'm pleased to welcome to our board of trustees Walter Siemens. I know Walt well. He's a Canadian from British Columbia and a farmer. And then also your vice chair of the IEC, Juan Felipe Montoya. So this is the team that's along with Cassie Price, who are helping move this process forward. Okay, you've all heard this, but it always bears repeating. The scope and scale of the challenge that we face in feeding a hungry world and the difference that eggs can make is huge. So just sub-Saharan Africa alone, it's estimated that 22% of the population are undernourished, and that's expected not to improve, but to get worse over the next number of years. Looking at the state of food security, 320 million more people did not have access to adequate food in 2020 and 2019. That's like 1 year. And now here we are in 2023 facing even more challenges. 928 million severely food insecure already in 2020, an increase of 148 million. And now in 2023, As the war in Ukraine persists and the disruption of supply chains and flow of grain, that situation is not improving. So nearly a third of the global population does not have access to adequate food, and particularly hard hit are children. And the impact, when you think about a young child as they develop, it isn't just physical height and weight, but if they don't get adequate protein at a young age, they're developmentally stunted as well, and that is just a humanitarian tragedy. So we have a number of goals. One, fighting against hunger and malnutrition, a real focus on children and young families. There's a lot of misinformation. Gonzalo, you talked about that in Colombia, a country that's rapidly progressing and developing. Well, many countries, the knowledge of the benefits of eating eggs simply not understood. So we have a role and a mandate to help with that. Making eggs more accessible, particularly to children. We do a lot of work through churches and schools, making sure that they have more access. Well, to have more access, you then also need to stimulate increased production. And this is a piece that I believe is a massive opportunity for everybody in this room. There are many, many countries in the world where there's no religious or political reasons not to eat eggs. They just don't. Countries where egg consumption is as low as 1 egg per person per year, 10 eggs per person per year. So a huge, huge opportunity to help with training and education, equipment and tools to equip them to become commercially viable in producing eggs and making it more accessible. And whether you look at this from a humanitarian perspective or a commercial perspective, it creates an opportunity for the egg industry to grow globally and feed even more people. And then finally, to continue that education piece around nutrition. So we focus in 4 areas. Education and training, that's probably one of our biggest areas. Improved nutrition and nutrition knowledge. Equipping people to be entrepreneurs, to go from being a backyard flock, if you will, to be a commercially viable business in the production of eggs, and to help support all of that process right on through with advanced technologies that are fit for purpose in local conditions in many parts of the world. So just an example on training. One of our training partners that we work very closely with over the years has been through Lambert. I think Christopher's in the room, so Christopher, thanks to you and your team. So they and other partners supply technical expertise, whether it's biosecurity, whether it's bird management, whether it's feed, healthcare, to come in and train groups of students. And I'll give you some impact numbers in a moment. And then we developed a series of tools. Egg Farmers of Canada Chair Roger Pellicero was in Eswatini, Africa a year ago, and we filmed kind of our entire training manual as a bit of a how-to guide. We're using that. And through the IEC, developed an extensive production manual that we use extensively in our training programs. There's just an example of training we did in Mozambique. We reached a large number of farmers. Even through COVID, we were able to do some work Zoom. Quite frankly, not quite as good as being there in person, but still able to carry on with our messages around the world. We're doing training in a number of countries, which I'll summarize at the end of my presentation. And then, of course, improved nutrition. Just the one project that's often seen as a bit of a flagship, but nowhere near our only project, is the egg farm that was built in Eswatini, Africa. We're now having fed in the last 8 years, I guess it is now, over 10 million eggs to orphans and vulnerable children. And I know firsthand from being there, and those that have, it's having a profound impact on that small, impoverished country. And then technology. Gosh, that's what many of you people do in allied industry. Whether it's Hatto with lighting, whether it's Sonoba with hard cooking equipment, whether it's Big Dutchman with housing systems, many, many people have stepped up to offer their expertise in technology. But it's a big tent. I reach out and I look at everybody in this room. and encourage you to consider how you might engage in this effort. And then I'd mention entrepreneurship. One of the projects we sponsor is a village poultry project in Uganda. And this lady, Edith Mubanda, runs this. And what they do is very simple. And the amount of money it costs is very little. And they give a hen and a rooster to usually a child with their mother. And from that, they will either produce more and more birds, they'll produce the eggs, they'll consume them, they will barter them, they will use them. So this young man in the yellow t-shirt, his name is Vincent. Vincent started with his one hen and one rooster. He now has well over 100 hens in his flock. He's built a small backyard barn. He's got 420 more birds coming because he started to generate a bit of income. And what has Vincent done with his income? Well, he's used it to be able to afford to enroll him, to buy a school uniform and enroll himself in a boarding school. With his expansion of his flock, he has now done the same for his little brother. Vincent's 11 years old. So you just get a sense of the little bit that we do, and you stimulate intelligent, clever people who don't have the same opportunities to take hold of their own life and find their solutions. So there's one 11-year-old kid who's building a life out of something as simple as getting a hen and a rooster. So impact. Everybody, when we talk, what difference is it making? We've now provided training to over 100 students and small-scale farmers seeking to become commercially viable in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, South Africa. I mentioned already how many millions of eggs have been fed in Eswatini and the work that we've done around shelf life. That little village poultry project that Edith Mubanda runs has reached over 300 families in one of the poorest countries in the world. So growth, what's next? What are we up to beyond the ones I've shared? Cassie Price and Steve Manton are leaving almost immediately from Barcelona. We're running our next training school for burgeoning egg farmers in Zambia. And then they're also going on from there to Kenya. So one of the several cool initiatives we have is you set up kind of a hub where you have a central hatchery, central pullet rearing, so you get vaccinated point-of-lay pullets, and then a network of small-scale farmers can access that and feed and some technical support to build out successful local businesses. So we have currently projects in our pipeline, very similar egg hub models in India. The Kenya one I mentioned that Cassie Price and Steve Manton will go and visit, and also one in Nigeria. Ope asked the question earlier on to Gonzalo, and Ope is one of the people we're working with in Nigeria. And then also we have our network of partners. I already mentioned some that contribute, but other companies have projects, and the International Egg Foundation, we don't have to run or operate every project. We can support other people's project with our time, expertise, and help them promote what they're doing. So there's projects underway in Honduras, in Brazil, Peru, Malawi, and also South Africa. So as you can see, after 9 years, we've made a huge amount of progress. I think I said at the start, in my view, we're just scratching the surface on the potential here. Why would I ask you to invest or consider being part of it? You know, the egg is making and can make such a massive difference in mankind, in human nutrition. You can help make the world a safer place, a better place. That sounds trite, that sounds, I don't know, boilerplate, everybody says it, but the egg does that. You know what? It helps build the reputation of our industry, of the people. It tells a story, a narrative about who we are and what we believe in. And practically speaking, we're going to grow egg industry, and not just egg production, but equipment, cartons, in areas of the world where there is no egg consumption. So regardless of how you look at this, there's intrinsic value, to the humanitarian side, and there's practical value to the commercial side. And we are your foundation. It's not a separate, it's separate from a legal, we've got our board, but we are part of the IEC family, and we are yours. So thank you for your time, and really good to see everybody. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it. Thank you.